right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recham, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And, in this lesson, I wanted to, just speak a little bit on, the title, Examine Yourself. I don't have no scriptures on me, the physical, but the beautiful thing about it is, as the scriptures say, right, out of his belly, he that believeth upon me, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So we still got the word within us, and that's the benefit right there. Now, let me just go ahead and flip that thing real quick. All right, but pretty much wanted to speak on that through the Spirit, just how important it is to examine yourself. And what I mean is, I'm not necessarily taking it in the direction of typically what you would think of when you think of examining yourself, because the scriptures do say, as the Apostle Paul said, examine yourself whether you be in the faith or not, which is very important to do. All right, and that goes into reflection. Okay, looking back, because like a mirror, right? When you look in a mirror, your reflection is basically what you see back, right? So, but this is more reflecting in onto your journey, which is very important. And there are often times where, because of the way we, the things we have to take care of in our daily life, it's easy to just keep going day by day, and just keep on, going like that without actually stopping to take a second to just, just think and reflect, or pause and just calm and reset yourself. All right, and that's very important to consider when you're in this walk, because as we have said, as the apostles have said, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, which means that you need to have endurance. You need to be able to pace yourself, and you need to be able to keep on going. Now, there are going to be times where you're not always going to be at your best. You're not always going to be at your peak. You're not going to feel motivated 24/7. But it's times like these that you reflect on things that that you've gone through, ways the Lord has delivered you, or signs the Lord has showed you, and those things they actually help boost or motivate you to keep on going. Now, things like even doubt, right? There are times when demons may mess with you, and the thing about the way demons mess with you, especially when they attack your mind, is it's very subtle. It's very subtle, so it's deceptive, because you start to think that these are your actual thoughts, right? These are your own thoughts or feelings, but in actuality, it's these demons that are messing with your mind, okay, putting these thoughts into your head. And when you start to experience doubt on whatever the situation is, that's them demons trying to play on your mind. But one way to help situations like that is reflecting back, right? Look, there. I'm sure by now we've all had situations where we've been in some trouble or some uncomfortable position, and we prayed to the Heavenly Father, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and the Lord came through for us, delivered us, okay, or showed you a sign or something of that effect. Well, the same way as it says in Romans 15:4, that whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, right? That we through comfort and hope may roughly paraphrase, I don't remember the rest of it, but the point is that you may be comforted by knowing the things that were written in the past, right? Well, similarly, if you can go into the scriptures and you can read the book of Daniel, or read in the book of Kings and read about how the Lord delivered Elijah and the situation he was in, and that boosts up your faith. You can do the same thing by looking back at your life. In this case, you're not looking back at records of an event that happened 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago, or maybe 500 is not a good number, but 1,000+ years ago. But you're looking at something that happened relatively not that long ago in your life. But it is still an intervention of the Lord in your life to deliver you from a certain situation, or to boost your faith by showing you something, be it a dream or a vision or chariot sightings, whatever it is. And when you reflect on that, you basically bring it into your memory, right? You bring it into the memory, and you refresh your mind on that. you start to focus on that, and it'll start to boost your faith, right? Because now you're saying, wait a minute, whatever you're doubting, if you're maybe in a situation, right? For example, you're in a situation, and the doubt demons really come when it's situations that you really need the Lord to come through for you, right? You're in a situation where literally your only way out is the Lord. There is no backup. There is nothing else. The Lord doesn't come through for you for this situation, you're cooked. You're done, all the way around, right? It's usually those situations that them demons try to come through on. And it's crazy how no matter how many similar situations you've been in, and no matter how many times the Lord has delivered you, them demons still try to jump on you. Which is like you've prayed for something, but then there's that one little demon that tries to come and say, but what if it doesn't? What if the Lord doesn't do it though, right? And demons are, they're slick. The demon might not try to put a thought in your mind that's like, what if the Lord can't do it? Because they know that obviously you would easily be able to just throw that thought out, because you're like, that's ridiculous. Why would I be serving the Most High if he can't do X, Y, and Z? He wouldn't be called the Most High, right? So rather, the kind of doubt seed that they'll try to plant is, what if the Most High doesn't do it? Not what if he can do it, but what if he doesn't do it? And then that is like the entrance, or at least the fruit of that seed starts to become the fearful thoughts of the possibility of whatever you prayed for not happening. And that starts to germinate, it starts to grow, it starts to bear fruit, and then you start to doubt. And that's the problem right there. So those demons, they'll try to get you, but when you experience that, and you reflect back on times when the Most High has delivered you, you can look back and say, well, what do I have to doubt? What do I have to be afraid of? The Most High, go back to this situation and try to remember how you felt in that situation, right? Try to remember how you probably felt the same way that you're feeling now, which is like, damn, yo, I really need the Lord to come through on this. And he did, probably on multiple occasions. So you look back at that and you say, well, if the Lord delivered me then, I prayed, I had faith, and he delivered me. He heard my prayer and he delivered me. So right now, whatever situation I'm in now, I'm going to pray, I'm going to have faith, and the same way the Lord delivered me then, he's going to deliver me now. So you counteract that doubt with looking back at whatever experiences you've had in the past and reflecting and saying, well, I was in a similar situation, or I was also in another difficult position, and the Lord answered my prayers then. So why wouldn't he do it now? And then you start to think more on those positive thoughts, and start to get that motivational faith boost by reflecting on your past, rather than worrying about something that may not happen, or what if the Lord doesn't do this, or whatever that case is. When it comes to the Lord, you make a request with the Heavenly Father, number one, you got to be specific, because you're not going to the Lord to ask him what does he think about it. If you're going to the Lord because you have a request, you got to be specific about what it is exactly that you want, or what you need the Lord to do for you. Don't because it's not everybody that gets let's just say gets granted an audience before the Lord to make your request known unto him. So the scriptures even say that. I believe there's a precept in the Apocrypha, specifically in the book of Sirach. I forget exactly what chapter it is though, but the precept mentions preparing yourself before you pray, right? And also when you pray, don't use many words like the babbling of like these so-called Christians, where at the essence of it, their prayer is really just, it amounts to nothing. There's no essence, there's no like actual like point to their prayers. For them, a lot of them, they just do it just to make it look like they're these super spiritual people. But at the end of the day, prayer is communication between you and the Heavenly Father. So what is it that you need? Go to the Lord and ask. But A, you got to be specific with what you want. But B, you can't go to the Lord doubting. You come into the Lord requesting something, and in the back of your mind, you're afraid. Oh, but what if the Lord, doesn't do this, or he can't do this, or what? That's where you're going wrong. Okay, but coming back to the point, examine yourself, right? Look back on your past, reflect. there are certain things that the Most High does in your life, and He doesn't do it immediately. He doesn't do it on a one-time basis. You may ask for the Lord to bless you with knowledge and wisdom and understanding, so you can be a better teacher, so you can edify more, or whatever it is. Maybe you're lacking in something, and you pray to the Lord to help you, so you can start to do better in it. That's not gonna happen overnight. Okay, that's like character development. That's you progressing, that's you growing. That's not gonna happen overnight. So when it's happening little by little, incrementally, day by day, week by week, month by month, right? The scriptures say that if any of you lack wisdom, ask the Most High and He'll give. And it also says that at roughly paraphrasing, at the Most High's time, He will bless you with wisdom. So these things happen over a period of time. And in order for you to sometimes really see that change, you got to look at where you are now, and you got to look back, examine yourself, look back at where you were before. And that's when you really see the effect of the Most High's working in your life. Because sometimes it's not just your day-to-day. Of course, the Lord, He'll deliver you, He'll bless you, He'll get you your daily bread, He'll get you through the day. But some of those bigger changes, you want more faith. Look at how you used to view certain events or process certain things a year or two ago versus how you think about them now. You wanted more understanding? Look at how you break down precepts, or how you understand certain scriptures when you read them now versus when you did a couple of years ago, or when you did at the point you were making that prayer. And when you do that, then you have a chance to thank the Lord, right? It's not always about asking, but also being expressing gratitude, right? And looking back and saying, damn, Lord, I remember I was, at this point in time, I was over here, I was in this situation. I remember when I was at this very low point, and it felt like, it felt impossible, but I prayed, and now I'm not at a low point, right? In the Apocrypha, it tells you that I think also in the book of Sirach, it tells you that basically like these two in reverse, right? So in adversity, there is no remembrance of prosperity, and kind of like vice versa. When you're in a hard, tough situation, the last thing you're thinking of are necessarily like the good times. The main thing you're thinking of is the situation you're in and how to get out of it, because you don't like it. And vice versa, right? When you're in a great, happy situation, you're chilling, you're having a good time. You ain't trying to think of bad times. Okay? So it's often very easy when you're in a bad situation, you're praying for deliverance, you get delivered, now you're in a good situation, and you forget about the bad situation. You forget that at one point you were in that predicament, and at one point you needed the Heavenly Father to deliver you. All right? But when you sit down and reflect, you start to see, damn, the Lord has really had a major impact in my life. Like the decisions I've made, where I've ended up, what kind of situations I was in, what kind of life I was living. What would have happened if I continued on that course, if I continued on that path? But the Lord had mercy, and now I'm not in that situation anymore. Sometimes you look at times when you went through a situation and came out of it, and right then and there, you don't see, sometimes you go through things, you don't see the benefit, you don't see the point of that. In your mind, you're just thinking, it feels like I'm suffering for nothing. What the hell? Why am I going through this? It feels random, like this just came out of nowhere. What was the point in the Lord putting me through this? I literally don't see any correlation between the thing that I just went through and any benefits. But remember, in Romans 8, right, that I think it's Romans 8, all things work together for good, or for them that love the Most High, that love Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. See, so whether you see it or not, it's still going to be in your benefit at the behest of the Lord. All right, and that's why it's important to look back, because that's when you see the great hand of the Lord in your life. It's good to look forward, not saying turn around and go in the opposite way, but it's good to look forward. But hey, even in certain jobs, right, when you're working, they always have these, either like a quarterly review or like a halfway point or end of the year review cycle where you reflect on how the year went, you reflect on what you did well, what you didn't do well, all of these things. And in doing that, you may think, oh, this is so tedious, oh, this is so annoying, oh, this is so pointless, like, why are we doing this? But in doing that, you can actually start to see, well, if I sit down and look at, what are the things that I did well, what are the things that I didn't do so well, what situations was I in, there are things you can learn from that. Because what you're doing then is basically just laying out your experience in front of you and trying to fine tune certain things. I could have handled this situation a little bit better. Hey, now I've learned from going through this situation that when it happens, instead of dragging my feet, I'm going to do this more. Or now, this going through this situation made me realize X about myself that I need to work on. So that's what I'm going to focus on, or that's what I'm going to pray to the Lord for. So, all of these things, at the end of the day, it comes down to, obviously knowing yourself more, but also helping you last longer in this journey, in this truth. But every now and then you got to just like sit and reflect and thank the Lord, and look back and see like, damn, Lord, like, it's been years or months or weeks or whatever the situation is, but you were there. You were there through it all. And hey, it'll help you continue to go ahead. So sometimes you come into situations, you feel low, or you feel, bad, or you feel, doubtful. Hey, reflect on things, because you are the primary source for this information, right? Like you can read what's written in the scriptures about something that happened in the past. The Lord delivered an individual, and the book you're reading, right? That's like the primary source, to an extent, right? That's where the event was recorded. But when you reflect on something that happened in your own life, the difference here is when you're reading about this situation, you don't get the aspects of like how it felt. But when you're reflecting on something that happened in your life, you get the aspect of how you remember what happened, but you also remember how you felt. And people remember, feelings in terms of experiences more. There's this quote, I'm probably going to butcher it, but I'm still going to maybe get the point across anyway, right? And it goes something along the lines of this. The quote says, tell me and I will forget. Show me and I may remember, or I might remember. Involve me and I won't forget, right? So that's the point right there, because when you tell somebody something, it's easy for them to forget it. If you show them something, it's not as easy as just telling them. Like if you're telling somebody something and they're like, hey man, but then you show it to them, they got a clearer picture of it, they can still forget it. But if you involve them in it, then that's going to be a different story. Here's an example, right? Imagine somebody telling you, yo, did you hear about the accident that happened on this road over here? Yo, I heard this car got T-boned, man. It was crazy. Next week, you're probably going to forget about that, right? Now, here's the next level. Maybe you actually saw the accident happen. You were driving and you saw, oh, boom, this car, oh, shit. Now, you may remember that more than somebody telling you about an accident happening. But you might also just forget that. You've been driving it's been 2-3 months. Cool. But let's say, hypothetically, that this individual was involved in the accident. Maybe they're the car that got T-boned, or they're the car that ran into some other car. You're not going to forget that. You're not going to forget that. You're not going to forget it. You may forget having seen an accident. You may forget having heard about it, but having been in an accident, you're always going to remember it. The second somebody brings up the word accident, the second, cars, if it happened maybe on a rainy day, if you're driving on a rainy day, you're going to remember that experience. You're going to drive very carefully. See, so by being involved in it, it sort of ingrains it in you, because you now have the aspect of feeling. You were driving, and then the second you turned around, you saw that truck coming, and you felt that feeling of fear, your adrenaline rush. You started calling in the name of the Heavenly Father, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, the impact of the car, all of these things happen. Your heart is beating. You're thinking, damn, is it over? Am I going to the spirit world? All of those things are a part of what strengthens your memory of this particular event here. And so that's why I'm saying sometimes when you reflect back on something that has happened to you, you can, if you're maybe going through a situation where you doubted, or you're facing some trouble, think back to a time before where you were facing trouble. You prayed to the Lord delivered you. Think back to a time where, I wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, I actually struggled with this, or I actually was a terrible reader, but now, hey, I don't have a problem with reading like that anymore. And just that correlation alone will at least should generate that feeling of like gratitude and really joy in your spirit. Like, damn, Lord, like I remember at one time I was like this, I prayed, and now I'm like this. And because it didn't happen overnight, it's sometimes easy to just go, under the radar. But now I have a chance to really see that difference. Like, oh shoot, Lord, you really made a difference here. And that motivates you to keep on going, knowing that, hey, this works. Like, hey, the Heavenly Father's, he's here. Hey, he's working. Yeah, like the brother said, growth. Growth. And so, as it says in the book of Galatians, our labor of love is not in vain. The Most High is not just gonna, all the hard work, all the things you've done, he's just gonna, all the sacrifices you've made to do his work, and here it is, you're continuing to do it, and he's just gonna, whatever, throw it to the side. No. We're the only ones who are actually doing what the Lord asked us to do. Now imagine that. You may think 144,000 is a lot, or you may think the innumerable multitude is a lot. But compared to all the spirits that are on the earth now, or all the human beings that were created, because if they're saying that there's roughly around 8 billion people on the planet now, there's still people in the spirit world. So those spirits are also an addition. So of all these different creations of the Lord, and yet you look at this remnant, and they're the only ones by far, not even just like, okay, they're doing it, but others are also doing it in a similar way. No, we are the only ones who are actually doing what the Lord asked in sincerity and in truth. So of course the Lord is going to value that. It's like if you lived in a neighborhood, a neighborhood, I don't know where that came from, but you lived in a neighborhood, right? And there was only one store that sold, I don't know, some like, damn, what's a good example? They sold some product that you needed, right? Maybe it's like a coolant for your car, and there's only one store in your neighborhood that sells that. You're gonna value that store, right? Like if anything goes wrong with that store, there's gonna be a problem for you, because you're like, yo, there's a million stores out here on this block, but there's only one that actually sells what I need. So there's only one I'm concerned with. So if there's something going on and there's some way I can help, hell yeah, I'm gonna help, because that's that only one store that has what I need. Well, guess what? We're the only ones that are actually doing the true will of the Lord in terms of what he has asked us to do. Of all these different spirits out here. So the Lord values the work that you do, no matter how small it may seem to you. Imagine the workers in that store. For them, stocking the shelves or making sure the cash register, everything is going good so the store stays up. For them, that's probably regular. It's not a big deal. An employee goes and stocks up the shelves with the coolant and the washer fluid and yada yada yada. To him, he's just doing his job. He's like, yeah, I mean, I do it every day. What's the big deal? I just go to the back, get whatever we need, bring it up here. If somebody comes up, I ring them on the register, right? So to them, it's like, it may seem like a small thing, but to somebody who needs it for his car, and they're the only ones who have it, that's a big deal. Like, this person is depending on that small thing that you're doing to have a big impact on them. Maybe there's somebody who drives a lot. They really need their car to do whatever they have to do. So to the worker in the store, it seems trivial. It seems like, yeah, but I do this every day. It's like, I don't see the big deal. But to the people that are impacted by whatever that worker is doing, it is a big deal. So you may think, oh, I just did a lesson, that was it. To you, because the worker, right, in the store, he doesn't really see the impact that he's having. He just knows that, oh, I'm here to do my job, I get paid, and I go home. But he is having a big impact. And it's just like that. We're working for the Lord. And to us, eventually you do your lessons, you go out there, you teach, you try to live a life closest to what's acceptable in the sight of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And it sort of just becomes regular to you, right? Like certain things, that you do is just normal. It's normal to you. It's not a big deal. But it actually is a big deal. It's a big deal to the Lord. Because you are like that one shop that provides what the Lord needs. Okay, and this is just for example's sake. But you're like that one employee that's doing what you got to do. So you don't see the impact, but the Lord sees the impact. And the Lord values what you're doing. And because of that, the Lord values you. And that's why when you read the scriptures, the Lord is going to have such protection and such a care and love for his elect, because of what it is that they do, how loyal they are to the Lord. And that's why, like, you can read the story of King David, and you may say, well, King David committed murder and adultery, and how come the Lord let him? Because his heart was towards the Lord. And that's something that you could even have people that feign themselves, they may not commit the same sins as he did. They may not commit sins that were on the level of what he did. But their heart wasn't towards the Lord like his was. See, and the Lord valued that. So, I mean, all in all, before I go on to say that, oh yeah, this is a good one. Chasad Bun Gad, Luke 6:44. For every tree is known by his own fruit. For of thorns men do not gather figs, nor of bramble bush gather they grapes. Exactly, it's known by his fruits. See, and the Lord knows you by your fruits. That He don't listen, man. You are not a fig tree if you ain't bringing figs. It doesn't matter how much of a fig tree you look. If you look like it and there's the same seed that they planted in the eyes of the Lord. What makes you a fig tree? Are you giving me figs? So what makes you a servant? Are you serving me? Like, you're not a servant by name. That's who. First off, who would hire you? You hire a maid that doesn't actually do the job of a maid, but you're paying them just because they call themselves a maid. Or you found them on a website that says hire maid for X amount, or this price. So you're gonna pay somebody to be a maid, but they're not doing the job of a maid. But just because they're called a maid, you're gonna pay them for that? No, you're gonna say you ain't no damn maid. I'm paying for services, not for you to sit here and look pretty. If I wanted that, I'd go pay for somebody who can professionally do that good. So the Lord called us here for services. The Lord is not looking at you. He's looking at what you are doing, your works. That's why the Lord is not here for people that just say, "Oh, I love the Lord." "Oh Lord, I want to worship you." Well, the Lord wants to see actions. Everybody wants to see actions. You're dealing with a chick, right? The chick says, "I love you," but never wants to kiss you, never wants to be with you, never wants to spend time with you. Would you rather date or be with a woman that constantly tells you she loves you, but never actually shows any actions of it? Or maybe she might not tell you she loves you, but all her actions are do that. What's more important to you? "Ah, baby, I got blue balls, but because you're telling me you love me, I'll call it a day." That's not that's not on any man's agenda. Okay, and vice versa, right? For a woman and a man, the dude is, "Oh yeah, I love you, baby," but he's treating you bad. His actions are not actually showing that he loves you. You care more about actions, right? You care more about results. Words are not they're not what's gonna do it for you, right? You want results. Well, it's the same thing with the Lord. He wants results. So going back to the scripture in Luke 6:44, for every tree is known by his fruit. Sometimes you may see a tree, and if you're not like what do they call them people? Botanist or somebody that just is experienced with plants. If you go there and you just see a tree is a tree. This tree is the leaves, the leaves a little greener than this tree. The structure looks a little different than this tree, right? But if I go to this tree and I see some red circular, looking colored fruits on there, and then I go and I pluck it and I bite into it, I know, oh, this is an apple tree because that's an apple. right? The fruit of this tree is telling me what kind of tree this is. Oh, that's an orange tree because that's an orange that just came off. Oh, that's a mango tree because that's a mango that just came off of there, right? So it's the same here. The Lord knows you by your works. Oh, that's such and such, you know? And I know him because his reputation precedes him, right? He's a diligent, you know, he's such and such. And that's sort of like, that's really just like a norm. People are really known for what they do. You don't know who Thomas Brown is. I just threw a name out there. I don't know if that's actually a famous person or not. You don't know who Thomas Brown is, but you know who Mozart is, or you know who Prince is, or you know who Michael Jackson is, right? So imagine Thomas Brown actually also makes music, or, you know, feigned himself to be a musician. Well, why don't you know him, but you know Michael Jackson, or you know Prince, or you know Mozart? Because these are people that are known for their actions, right? They're not known for it. Thomas Brown, what makes Thomas Brown notable? If you walked past Thomas Brown, how would you know who he is? Just because what? Just by looking at him? No. But if he plays good music, his music gets recognized. Now he know a lot of people know, yeah, yo, who made that song? Oh, that's Thomas. Oh, that's Thomas Brown. Oh, that's Tom. So the second you hear Thomas Brown, oh yeah, that's the famous musician. That's the famous singer. That's the famous rapper. Because of what he's doing, because of his actions. So guess what? If your name comes up to the Lord, who are you? And how should I know who you are? Okay, that's such and such. Who's such and such? Oh, that's that brother that what? You know, he does a video like every once in like 6 months or so. Why would I know him? You know? He prayed to you like 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Who's gonna remember that? But now if you say, oh, you know, Lord, you know, such as, oh yeah, you know, he ain't even gonna let you finish saying the person's name because he knows exactly who he is. Yeah. He did a video a couple hours ago. Oh yeah, he's always sending prayers over here every morning, every evening, he's always here. So I know him. I'm familiar with him. You know, he's always doing what he got to do. So you wanna, you know, sort of place yourself in that, you know, really, if you wanna talk about clout or being known, really be known to the Lord by those reasons, by the things that you do. Because that's what the Lord is looking for, results. And I know the I guess the spirit of the lesson sort of shifted, but that's how the spirit goes, you know, so you just flow with it. So let me read this. This is Chesed ben Gad, Job 28:28. And unto the man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Yeah, you know, and why is that? Because the fear of the Lord is like that first door. Everything else that comes, like the wisdom, the knowledge, all this, that's all behind the door of fearing the Lord. If you don't fear the Lord, you will not be able to get to all those other things over there. That's just the way it goes. You know, that's just the way it is. All right. So yeah, pretty much that's the point that I wanted to make. You know, examine yourself. You know, yes, we go through day by day, but sometimes take the time to just meditate, just sit back and think. You think about what's ahead, you think about what's now, you think about what happened, the good things. You know, and just and some of the bad things that you've learned from. You know, and just reflect on how the Lord has had that impact in your life, and just be grateful, and it'll help you keep on going forward. And then the second part being, be fruitful. Okay, if you're not fruitful, you'll be forgotten about. You'll be forgotten about. You need to be fruitful. You need to let the Lord know you by your actions. Okay, be event driven, be action driven. You know, and that way, you know, you can be more fruitful. You know, you can make more gains, and hey, Lord willing, you make it onto those chariots. But that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.